Hey, welcome back everybody. I'm Mike B, and today we're going to be doing a follow-up video of my unboxing video of this Chinese Type 56 SKS from AIM Surplus. This is one of the X grade, shooter grade, or whatever they call it. It's got a lot of cosmetic wear, which I love. Anyway, you can check out that video if you haven't already. So we're going to be degreasing this thing, including the stock. It's been actually a long time since I took apart an SKS, more than just field stripping it, so I'll probably fast forward through the parts where I'm struggling. There's a bunch of videos on how to take apart an SKS. I might actually have to consult one if I can't figure it out on the video. So I'll try to fast forward through the tedious, kind of slow parts. But anyway, we're going to be using mineral spirits, okay? This is what I use to take packing grease or cosmoline or whatever it is off of military surplus weapons. You're gonna need a fair amount of it. The way I do it, I try to use as little as possible, and you're still gonna be using a lot, because this has a decent amount on it. You can see in the action, it's pretty gunky. You might want to wear the chemical resistant, like rubber gloves. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna suck it up for the duration of cleaning this, and then just rinse my hands off with mineral spirits, and then go wash them with soap and water. It'll dry out my hands for temporarily, but then it'll be fine. I've done it several times. It's just easier for me to work with without gloves. You might be different, but I just don't work the same with gloves on. So that's why I'm not going to be using gloves. I highly recommend it if you can work with gloves on. So I believe the first thing we're going to do is take the cleaning rod out, or not, because it's super greasy. All right, so we're going to take the top cover off by flipping that back, all that stuff. Make sure your weapon's clear. This thing's obviously clear. I can't even fit rounds in there. They'd probably just get gunked up with all the cosmoline and whatever. And since we're gonna need to, just pry this up a little bit. The grease. Oh, duh. It could be why it's not coming out. All right, pull that pin out. All right, so we're gonna set that down. Oh yeah. There, doesn't that look appetizing? Good stuff. I'm using a piece of scrap wood so I can just burn this bitch later. Yeah, this spring is just covered, which is good because it preserves the metal. But this isn't good because this thing will not function as is right now. So we'll go ahead and take this out, separate the bolt. Jeez, yeah, nice and sticky. So we got something for this though. It's gonna be a hot day out, so I'm gonna show you how to easily get most of the grease out of the stock once we get this thing apart more, just using a garbage bag. So I'm gonna take oh, this one isn't bad. Usually they're pretty bad at this point. Flip this up, remove the gas tube and piston. Come on, baby. Please don't be stubborn. All right, there we go. Yeah, so this entire piece is just completely saturated with grease. Look at that. Yeah, the gas piston wouldn't have even moved unless this thing was like 1,000 degrees to start out with and the grease was melting. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to clean this, not just for, sticky purposes, but for functional purposes. This thing is not going to work if you've got all this grease gunking up the action, especially if it's not 1,000 degrees out. So I think I might actually just throw this entire thing in the garbage bag as is. I'm not going to remove the wood because it's going to be really slippery and hard to take out. So this is where it gets tricky. I forgot how to do this. Get this magazine out of here. It's really hard to work with this because it's so damn greasy. There we go. Yeah, it'll just pop right out. These things are actually pretty easy to take down. I forgot how easy they were because I just haven't done it in so many years. But, all right, we can definitely work with that. And now you take the cleaning rod out, which we already did. Extend the bayonet out, and then the receiver should just pop right out. All right, come on, baby. There we go. Okay. So now we've got this thing basically assembled. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stock and the handguard / gas tube, and while we're doing the rest of this gun, because it's going to take quite a bit of time, I'm just going to take a black hefty bag, okay, and I'm going to throw the stock. I'm going to throw the stock and the handguard slash piston assembly in this garbage bag, and I'm gonna go set it out in the sun for probably the duration of us doing this. I'll be doing the stock last. I'll just be doing a wipe down with some mineral spirits and cloth. I'm gonna go ahead and set that outside right now. All right, so what that does in the garbage bag is it's black, so it attracts more sunlight, it retains a lot of heat, and it'll just have that stock in the bag, kind of like a greenhouse effect where the gases don't really escape. Make sure it's sealed up nice and tight. I just folded it under itself. It'll get super hot in there, and it'll cause the grease to actually rise out and kind of liquefy out of the stock, and that way when we go to wipe it down, it should get most of it off. I'm not concerned if there's a little bit of grease in there. In fact, I don't mind having a little bit of grease because it somewhat waterproofs it. It's just getting it to the point where you can handle it without your hands sticking to it greatly, and you know, it just being totally dry. So I like having a little bit. That's personal preference. You can do this over and over again. It's probably gonna take a few times for me, but the stock isn't as bad as they usually are. Now, the fun part. So what I like to do is just to kind of get started and get motivated, I like to just start with big parts. So we're just gonna wipe down the entire receiver. You can see this, I'll show you up close. It's got some pretty hefty junk on it, right? So I'm just gonna take my mineral spirits, okay? And I'm gonna use this cloth, this, well, it's not a cloth, it's a paper towel. And yeah, we're gonna get it nice and saturated. And we're just gonna start wiping. And you can see this, if you can't, I'm sorry, I can't really zoom in right now. It's coming right off of here. It's coming right off of the metal, and it's getting to be smoother and all that stuff. Wiping right off onto there. At this point, we're not trying to wipe, we're trying to just saturate this whole piece in as much mineral spirits as we can. Then we'll start wiping with regular cloth because it's a little bit more abrasive than a paper towel, I think at least. But yeah, we're just saturating this guy. You can use, if you have like a Rubbermaid container or something, you can actually use that too to saturate and just soak these in for a little bit, but that uses a lot of mineral spirits, and I am kind of a cheap ass, and if I don't have to use that many, I don't. Plus, I'm not doing a lot of these anymore, and it's really fun and satisfying to do it by hand. So we're gonna go right up the barrel here, get into the gas system. It'll blow most of the residual shit out of there once we fire it. But yeah, so I'm gonna get under the sight, over the sight. Just, yeah, I mean, you can see it on the big parts. That's why I usually do it first, because you get back into the groove of things, and you see where these little spots are that stuff can creep into. Okay, so that is our preliminary kind of wipe down of all the big parts. And even though I sped that part way up, that took me probably a good 20 minutes, somewhere around there, just to get the initial wipe down done. Now what we have to do is we actually have to use Q-tips, you know, handy dandy little Q-tip case. Use Q-tips and do the same thing, except take the cap of your mineral spirits, right? Pour yourself just a happy little droplet of it. And then you go right back to doing the same shit, just more detailed. So you're gonna do a preliminary wipe. You're gonna need a bunch of Q-tips actually, on all the little parts. Now, at this point, the weapon will probably function, but you still just want to, you know, especially because it gets pretty cold up here, and cosmoline or grease or whatever the hell this shit is, does not do well when it's cold. It turns solid basically, and the weapon won't function. So you want to just get all this residual shit out of here using Q-tips. So there's no easy way to do this. You just have to just suck it up and get it done. But this is generally the last part that I actually do. I don't take this thing completely apart because I've had a bunch of SKSs, and as long as the main parts are degreased, we'll be doing the bore too, so that'll be the last thing we do. As long as these things are pretty much degreased, they work great. The only time I really had a problem was when I forgot to degrease. What the hell did I forget to degrease? Yeah, the actual firing pin, which we're gonna do with a Q-tip. I don't want to take the bolt apart for this video, so we're just gonna kind of pour a bunch of mineral spirits in there and get it done. But yeah, if you forget to degrease that, the firing pin won't hit the primer hard enough in the winter because it's frozen with cosmoline. So I'll get to this, and I'll speed this part up too, because this is gonna take a while. Okie dokie, we're done, and I had just the right amount of Q-tips. Unbelievable. So, yeah, if you made it this far watching all this sped up shit, we've got this rifle now to where it's actually going to be shootable. The trigger mechanism's mainly cleaned out, except for the bottom part that actually doesn't affect function. It's just going to get my finger a little sticky. But, yeah, there's a bunch of grease in here, now there's not. So basically, we've got it degreased. You can see that. Except for the bore. The bore, we're going to run a bunch of shit through there. We're going to run a bore snake through there. Might even actually just push this down to push out a bunch of the grease if there is any. Yep. Good stuff. But, yeah, there's a decent amount in there, so we'll just run a bore snake through that later on. That's all you gotta do for that. Run some mineral spirits on your bore snake, and then run the bore snake through there until it's shiny. And then the rounds will take out the residual grease. It won't be enough to really hurt the weapon. If you could see through it, you can see lands and grooves very definedly. There's going to be a tiny thin layer, and it's just the same as having kind of some heavy carbon on it. It'll blast it out in the first couple rounds. Okay, so some time has passed, and I checked the stock. It got a lot more cloudy out, and it's windy, so this isn't really heating up the way it's supposed to. You can see a little bit. There's some of the cosmoline coming out of the wood. Like that, it looks a little bit wet. You can see that. But it's not going how I expected it to, so we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to take some mineral spirits with paper towels, and I'm going to wet down the stock just kind of how I did the metal parts. And what's going to happen is mineral spirits dries things out. So there's probably a finish on here still a little bit, even though it's pretty used. And it'll look like it's turning white, but it actually is only a temporary thing. It dries it out, and then when it regains moisture eventually, it'll go back to its normal color. So that's what I've experienced when I did stocks back in the day when I was getting surplus for cheap, and this is a regular occurrence. So we're just going to wet this down, get it on the stock really nice. I mean, some of it did bleed out, which is kind of nice, but it's gonna take like a lot longer, and I have things to do. So we're gonna be just doing it this way to get the same results. This is actually a little bit quicker. Yeah, you just get it really saturated. We're gonna go inside a little bit too, even though this doesn't really matter as much, just for kind of cosmetic purposes and fitting things in there a little bit easier. But still, if you don't clean out the inside of the stock, it's not a huge deal. Let's get this done really quick. All right. And this is actually a pretty easy thing to do because the stock is just a big piece. You don't have to worry about the tedious little pieces. So yeah, we've got this thing pretty saturated. And go ahead and grab a rag and just give it a nice rub down. Like oh, that's pretty sweet still. I just love the writing, the carving in here. Yep, it's already looking a little bit better and feeling a little bit better. Just gotta dry my hand off for a bit. Yep, it's drying out now. It already feels a million times better. Now, if you go out there again on a really hot day and leave this out in the sun, it'll still bleed cosmoline out, but this will make it so you're able to handle it, and you won't get a bunch of grease on your hands every time you touch this thing. So sometimes some of these are really grody. This one wasn't bad. Some of these are really grody, and you're going to actually need to do a few swipes of mineral spirits. But this one actually seems like it's okay. Oh, I forgot to get the buttstock in this whole process. No cleaning kit. Oh, that's a shame. I'm just kidding. I don't really care. They're cheap to get. All right. So yeah, already this is feeling much better. It's feeling a lot less tacky. We'll go ahead and do the piston housing / handguard. There we go. And there's really not too much crap in here, just a little bit, so we'll get that out. Okay, so there was actually a fair amount in there. I stand corrected. Just cleaned out a bit. A lot of this will blow out of here when you actually use the rifle. Yeah, hey Rooster, guess what? It's not morning. You can stop with your bullshit. Perfect. Getting there. Oh, that's right. So the cleaning rod can be used for more than cleaning the bore. But usually you don't have to do this. All right, that's decent enough. There's just a little bit left in there that'll blow out. It'll heat up and blow out the little vent holes as we keep using this. I don't have the brush and stuff to do it right now. So we're just gonna wipe this down. And now we're gonna actually put this back together. Do a final wipe down on these parts as we're assembling them again. Yeah, it's looking really good. It's looking a lot better than it did. All the metal's in pretty good shape. Some of it's worn, but worn doesn't mean it's unusable and crappy. It's just the bluing on it. Oh, I did find out too, the receiver cover does not match, so it's not an all-matching rifle. Basically everything except that matches, but I'm not too worried about it. About this thing as a shooter/collector, so pretty cool piece. All right, let's do a quick once over. All right, so we're gonna kind of reassemble this the way we took it apart. Throw the receiver back into the stock. If this little button will cooperate. Come on, baby. There we go. Nice little fit in there. I'm gonna flip this upside down. Throw the magazine back in. Pops back in there. Hands are so greasy. Alright, got it back together. I just didn't have enough leverage to push it. It literally just pops kind of in and forward. So you hear a click on that little detent. I was about to snap this board. I didn't want these pieces to go flying. So, alright, now we're going to throw this guy back in here. Oops, didn't get it. There we go. last piston. Hell. Oh yeah. Dokey. We got that. Beautiful. Make sure those pins out of the way, of course. Reminding myself. There. Working a little better than it was the sticky cosmoline and stuff in there. I better put the cleaning rod back. I did go ahead and clean out the bore off camera as well. It's really nice and shiny. Very nice defined lands and grooves. So that's always a plus. There we go. There. Now we've got a cleaned and functional Chinese Type 56 SKS that was sent to Albania at some point. And yeah, it's a great piece. I can't wait to go out and shoot it. So I'll just give you a once over what we've got here. Look at that. It's all degreased. Look at that. Even the front sight. Yeah, I can actually see through it now. Very nice. So yeah, that's about what it takes to get this thing basically degreased. There's still going to be a little bit of grease on the stock, of course, like I said. And there might be grease in little insignificant parts that are cosmetic. But overall, this thing, it's going to function well. I can already tell that. SKSs are amazing. There's a little bit of Cosmos still left in the piston housing. But that, again, will blow out of these two little holes as this thing heats up and I shoot it. It's kind of a pain to clean. And like I said, I don't really have a tool to do that like well. So I just, I got as much as I could out. And we'll just go out and have to shoot it out of there. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. That's how you clean basically any military surplus weapon. Bolt actions are a lot easier because there's a lot less parts, and it's pretty simple. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Consider supporting this channel on one of the many different ways that are in the description. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and all that stuff. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.